So hang with us while we make sure that the show is actually going.
Now you're actually live, dude.
Let's check it out. All I see is
what
Dave.
You say from now on.
Boys
is live.
into noise. Looking. Hello, everyone. I know you're probably there, but let's just take a quick look.
Dave will try to be more ecstatic.
Yay, we are on. Hooray.
I don't see any
Okay.
new people. Oh, people. Hey, YouTube.
All right, it's good to see all of you today. Before we get started, we have a few announcements. Dave, there's a link in that set of links. Please share it for... we are doing a drawing for... We've hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. And so we are doing a drawing for 10...
Wait, which one?
That one right there.
Okay.
We're doing a drawing for 10 different people to have a chance at winning one of the 20th anniversary Dining on a Dime cookbooks. And one of the people will get the cookbook plus an apron that was handmade by Jill. It was handmade, right?
Yes.
Okay, handmade by Jill. So Dave is sharing a link to the show that we did on Monday. And that's the show, if you don't see his link, you can go to youtube.com/living on a dime and see the one. Oh, here it is right here. This is the apron. If you go to that video from Monday that Dave is sharing the link for and post a comment, any kind of comment, that's wonderful. Then you will be entered into the drawing. And our plan is to do the drawing later in the show today, but if for some reason the show runs long, I might make a separate video of that tomorrow. So, or a separate live step in for that. So there's that. And also we have our sale going on right now. It's our New Year's sale. If you're working on New Year's resolutions and you're cleaning and organizing and trying to make better meals and things like that, we have our How to Save on Groceries e-course and our How to Organize and Clean Your Home. Both of those e-courses are on sale right now on our New Year's sale. Dave shared the link. And if you didn't find it, you can go to livingonadime.com and click store. So, today we have an interesting topic. And last night while I was thinking about this topic, at midnight, my inner Tar was coming out. So it should be an interesting show.
He was venting to text edit.
Yes. Yeah, I kept coming out and writing notes to myself because I thought, okay, I really have to share this with people. So I'm going to start by saying I was kind of looking at some things from our How to Save on Groceries Facebook group. You can go ahead and share that. And this group we have, so it's a private group. So Dave's going to share the link, and you can, if you want to get on that group, you can request permission, and we pretty much approve everyone unless there's been a problem before. But this is a group where people get together, you can talk about your victories, you can talk about what you're doing. A lot of times it's showing pictures of food that people have made from Dining on a Dime. I'm looking for our Dining on a Dime cookbook. But right now there's a lot of discussion about New Year's resolutions, and a lot of it is about money. Some of it is it's about a lot of it's grocery budget stuff and other types of resolutions. And I have to say, I was somewhat shocked by what I saw. And I will say, before I get started, I'm going to use some examples. I'm actually going to read from some posts that we had. And if you happen to be a poster or a commenter and I read your post or comment, this is not a personal, attack against you.
This is a common issue that's known, and many people have this problem. So
right,
and
the
trying
reason
to address it over, everyone who has it.
Right, Dave's got it absolutely right. So the reason why I'm sharing from these particular posts because I saw them yesterday.
Yeah.
But we see these all the time. We see these posts all the time. And I would say, I look at the resolutions and I'm glad people I'm glad people are expressing a desire to improve their lives, but I'm not sure, I see now why it is that so many resolutions fail. And I think from a financial perspective, a lot of the things that were expressed in these comments are things that to me say you're setting yourself up to fail. And so if you are if you're a person who posted one of those things, this is not specifically to you, although you're included in this, but it's to everyone who is making these kinds of excuses. So first of all, I'll say, I just kind of gave away part of it. It's making excuses. Much of the talk is about things that we want to do to improve our lives in some way. But I noticed that, honestly, some of it goes in the right direction and a lot of it goes in the wrong direction. And I think I'll just read some of this to explain it to you. But also, well, let me just read some of these, first of all. First, I'm going to start with one that was talking about food and restaurant eating. And I'm really glad people are expressing an interest in not eating out so much. Because eating out is one of, I don't know, it's one of the major causes of personal debt. And I mentioned on Monday's show that nickel and dime spending is a big cause. So I spend $1 for a drink, well, it's probably $2 for a drink at a convenience store. I spend $5 for a coffee at Starbucks or the unnamed coffee shop. And, you know, maybe spend $7 to $10 on a value meal at a fast food place. And so the eating out is a big thing, and I'm going to read about this real quick here. But there's two things I see that seem to be the main cause for the eating out. It's where people have made their lives overly complicated. And generally, most people whose lives are overly complicated have made them overly complicated, trying to live a life like they think they're supposed to have, but not necessarily the life that's working out. So that's one thing. And that causes people to say, oh, I'm just so worn out. I don't feel like cooking. I just can't do it anymore. We'll just stop for some fast food or call takeout pizza or go to a restaurant. And the thing is, those things cost 5 times or more greater than the cost of actually making a meal that you can make in just a few minutes. And people think, oh, hey, this is wonderful. And people think this is a treat, but it's not. It's taking your money away and making you poor. So I'm going to read real quick here. There's been a lot of talk about a no eating out month or a no spend month. And one person particularly said, so due to bills and car repairs and such, we have decided to have a no eating out January. Woohoo! Great. That's beautiful. Although I do think that, well, no eating out is good. No spending in general, sometimes people overdo it, and then that's going to cause you to fail there. But no eating out in January, great. But she also put inside and then a little crying emoji. And I understand. I find some enjoyment at times in eating out, although I realize much of that enjoyment is my perception, but it's not really true. I don't enjoy it as much as I think I do. So I was reading comments, and this isn't a bad comment, really, you know, that we decided to stop eating out. But I was thinking, why would you be crying inside? And the reason why it probably is because you see this as an amazing part of your life, something that's wonderful. Because if it was just a little convenience there, it really wouldn't have that big of an impact on you if you were giving it up. So I think, first of all, that people put too great an emphasis on the value of eating out. Because we've actually heard from so many people that say, eating out is stressful. They go to a place, they don't get what they ordered, they wait in long lines. If it's a sit-down place, it takes forever for the food to come. The kids are riding, they don't want to be there. You drive 20 minutes each way or more to get to the food place. Whereas you could do something at home, and that's partly what we tell people in our Dining on a Dime cookbook, and we show on our show a lot of recipes and things you can make in 5 minutes. And that's 5 minutes of making it, and then it may cook for a while. A lot of times you can throw something in the crock pot. But in any case, the amount of time actually doing the task that you envision to be really difficult is pretty small, and the great thing that you think you're going to be able to do by eating out is kind of defeated by the unpleasantness and the high expense. So anyway, I've let that go too far. But I'm just going to read a little bit on this. I look further down, and people are saying a lot of encouraging things. This is great. You'll love it. Better than no eating out. No eating at all. Yeah, better than no eating at all. You can do it. It's great. A lot of encouragement. But as I look further down, a lot of people are making comments like, this year we are only eating out for birthdays and our anniversary, and that's great. And then, should be a long year, haha. Well, yeah, but it's really not giving up much to not eat out.
Actually, you'd have more time probably than going out of your way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you actually save a lot more than you think by not eating out. It's not just the food, it's time, and it's a whole lot of other expenses. So, I was looking for, we stopped eating out so I could work less, meal planning list or keys, that's great. There were a bunch of comments here where people were saying essentially how difficult it is. And I can't find the comment on here, but one lady was saying, I totally understand. It's been so difficult, and
You have the PDF on there.
it's been so, I think it's actually on this other comment here, was saying that it's so difficult. It's already so difficult this year. And I was thinking, it was only January 1st when I saw this. So let me get to a different one, a different post that's got a lot more specific things. And let me just read it first. So the poster says, so this isn't really a New Year's resolution, but as a result of our budget going wacko out of control, even prior to the holidays, I'm buckling down very hard and cooking what I have around the house for next month at least. I went through all my pantries and freezers, made a huge list of what we have. Great. I'm working very hard not to spend money on anything but gasoline, produce, and milk this month. Great. Up to now, mostly great. Almost all that sounds great. Obviously, if things come up like Dr. Copay, please God no, or something like that, that will be paid. But that's it. No eating out, no special events. We have had plenty in the last few weeks anyway. No office, art, school, or craft supplies, a huge downfall for me. Kids' registration in school and such. But she also says, I am also going to cut way back on wine. That will help losing some weight too, right? And that's true. And it is a huge grocery drain. I'm kind of editing a little because it's just a lot to read. One of the hardest things is my husband eating out for lunch almost every work day. It's expensive. It's unhealthy. He knows this, and truthfully, he's better at being frugal than I am. But going out to lunch with his buddies really takes some pressure off his day. He works so darn hard that for that company and his family, I feel like he deserves to blow off steam.
Oh, don't get me started!
Mom's dying.
It tripped my unspoken word, the word that's not spoken, and I have spoken it for the first time in how many years? I've tried, I'm going to comment on that in a minute. I've tried sending him a super yummy lunch. That sounds awesome. That he can take to the fast food restaurant and eat while his buddies order lunch, but that doesn't always take, and sometimes the packed lunches go to waste. Here's hoping, if I cannot make any craft, school, art, office supply purchases for a month, he can cut his fast food lunch habit down to at least once a week, maybe less, right? Thanks for letting me talk about my goals. And you know what? I want to thank you for making this comment, because I would say, first of all, the majority of the people in this group probably are thinking that and are afraid to say it. So I have to give you kudos for being real and sharing. But I see some problems here.
Just a few.
So again, this is not, if you're the poster and you're watching, this is not specifically just for you. I want everyone here to pay attention and think about this, because these are the kinds of things that we sometimes do to ourselves, and maybe we don't realize it, and maybe it's just an excuse. I think it kind of goes both ways. So, first of all, I think the whole expression at the beginning is, I'm going to work real hard, we're cutting this, I realize there's a problem, our budget's out of control. Brilliant. Those are great. That's wonderful. And it's a great idea to say, you know, this is the first of the year, and I'm going to rethink what we've been doing, and I'm going to change some things and hopefully improve our lives. That's wonderful. But here's where some of the problem comes in. I think sometimes the words you tell yourself have meaning, and that meaning can express feelings and attitudes and can even convince you that you're not going to succeed at something when you haven't even given it that much thought that that's what you're doing. So I notice here, as a result of our budget going wacko out of control even prior to the holidays. And I thought it was very interesting that the budget is just going wacko out of control. Like, how did that happen? I don't know. But I noticed in the description, it sounds like this budget is just going out of control, and I have no idea what happened. But I think we know how those things happen. And it's important to, first of all, acknowledge, man, this is really, I've really kind of, not I or we, whoever, have really made, we've done a lot of things wrong, and we've kind of caused some problems for ourselves, and now we're going to fix those problems. Wow, I'm not in the Tara mode very much, am I? Get it together, people!
I couldn't slam it.
So, anyway, so first of all, I would say the way, the way that this states about the budget going out of control suggests to me that perhaps you're not really giving full credit to, I have done something, and that something I did has caused this problem, and now I need to fix it. And the reason why, wow, do I want to keep going down this list, or do I want to get at the reason why I think that's important is because we see a lot of people commenting, and a lot of the statements are phrased in a way that makes me wonder, do you really want to solve your problem? And I just want you to think about that for a second, because I'm not sure that a lot of people really want to solve the problem. And one thing that's awesome about social media, well, I say awesome, is if you want to feel good about things, you can go out into Facebook and you can post things, and you'll get a lot of people that'll say, you go, girl, that's great, I'm so glad for you. And it's funny because Facebook actually does that intentionally, because they know if people log in and find people that agree with them and tell them good things, that those people are going to stick around more. But I have to say, for all the people out there that are looking for that kind of encouragement is good. Encouragement to do the right thing is good. But generally, more often than not, I see a lot of people saying, this is great, this is going to be okay, when it's not going to be okay. And I think it's really important that you need someone to tell you the truth. And if you love somebody, it's important to tell them the truth in love, but to tell them the truth nevertheless. Because if I see you doing something and I think it's destructive to you, if I just tell you, it'll be fine, I'm contributing to the problem. And so, anyway, I think a lot of people are trying to be nice, but I think it's not really going to help in this type of situation. So you need to ask yourself, do I really want to solve this problem? And if you do really want to solve the problem, you have to say, this is a problem, I did this to contribute to it, and I have a plan to change it by doing this. And again, for this poster, I have to give some kudos. I'm working very hard not to spend any money on anything but these things, and she lists a list of things that are definitely needs. But obviously things come up like a doctor copay, please God no, or something like that, that will be paid. Well, that's good, but for most people, a doctor copay is a small amount, like $30 a month or less. Not a month, $30 per visit or less. So even if it does come up, it doesn't seem like a major budget, stall. So I was a little kind of puzzled by the copay thing, but I looked further down, no eating out, great, no special events, great. But then she says, we have had plenty in the last few weeks, and that's probably Christmas and stuff, so that's fine. But then no office, art, school, or craft supplies, a huge downfall for me. And I was thinking, maybe it's because I'm not crafty. But it's hard for me to imagine spending more than $10 or $20 on arts and craft supplies in a month, unless I own a preschool or I'm leading the children's group at church or something like that. So it does make me think, what is this? Why is this a huge downfall? And then I look further down, and I was wondering on the cutting back on wine, because you're right, it is a really big grocery drain, but it says I'm going to cut way back, which makes me think that, probably spending too much on that already, like way too much in a normal case. And then I look at my husband's eating out almost for lunch almost every workday. Okay, so the stuff that the poster has stated before, there's some things that kind of set me off and think, okay, this is a problem. This is a problem. But this part I see as a really big problem.
Mom's trying not to break out of her cage.
No. Sit, girl, sit. Okay, one of the hardest things is my husband's eating out for lunch almost every workday. It's expensive. It's unhealthy. I'm glad you know that. And she says he knows this, and truthfully, he's better at being frugal than I am. If he's spending this much, and he's better at being frugal than you are, you guys have a serious problem. A serious problem. Because eating out for lunch, these days, it's almost impossible to spend less than $7 at a fast food place. You can buy something on the value meal. Most people spend multiple items on the value meal, and it ends up costing the same. And I've seen prices at fast food places. Typically, people spend on one person. Cheap people spend $7. Most people spend $10 or more on one. So if he's eating out almost every workday, that's more than $200 a month just on that. And I think, how much is our regular budget? I think that's as much as we spend for 6 people in a month on groceries. Okay, so, and it is unhealthy, and that will cause other costs. And I admit myself, I have issues with food and am overweight, working on that. But it's my problem that I've created. But going out to lunch with his buddies really takes some pressure off of his day. Okay, that's a huge red flag. He works so darn hard for that company and his family. I feel like he deserves to blow off steam. My head just exploded. Boom! No.
I hate the word.
I hate the word deserve. If you use that word, you need to strike that from your vocabulary. That word will defeat you more than anything else. None of us deserve anything. And that's the thing. I think about this, and there's a time where I had to learn that lesson the hard way when I married Tara, and I knew already prior to marrying her that my spending was out of control. And you guys have seen Tara. Get it together, people. That was the experience I had almost right away after marrying her, because I was in the habit of charging eating out. I just thought, I want to eat out. I don't have the money. My $6 an hour job, which is what it was in those days, doesn't pay enough. So I'm just going to charge it. We're going to go on a date. I'm going to charge it. And I loved photography. And in those days, the film was expensive. The processing was expensive. I didn't care. I just did it because I liked it and I wanted it and it was me. And I used to go to movies and do that. Well, when we got married, Tara said, this has to stop. And I was unhappy. I was really unhappy. But I realized in my heart, this is fact. This is truth. I needed to hear it. I don't like it, but I needed to hear it. And so when I look at this, I think he works so darn hard for this company. Okay, so if he works really hard for a company and for his family, that's honorable. That's great. But why does working hard for a company entitle someone to take pressure off his day by spending a ridiculous amount of money
That adds more
out of the
pressure.
family budget? Go ahead.
That adds more pressure in the future
That adds more pressure in the future.
for the entire family.
Yeah. And
that's not caring for your family.
Yeah.
and Tara, who's not working today, said, and that's not caring for your family. It's not caring for your family. It's about me. And you know what? Again, not specifically attacking this person. I'm just saying all of us, a majority of people in this group probably, this is kind of a thought process that goes through our heads. And I'm telling you this not because I want to slap you and say, oh, look how terrible you are. Our mission here is to actually help you improve your life. And we've done that. And people say, wow, you guys are so lucky that you don't have any debt. You have your family all together. Everything is wonderful. It's not everything is wonderful, but it's pretty good. But when people say you're so lucky, I think, oh, I don't deserve to hear that I'm lucky for having gone to extreme measures to get myself out of that kind of situation.
You're not lucky, you just actually work.
Yeah.
You actually try.
Now, see, working is good, and I know you said your husband, or she said her husband works so hard. Yes, but it is not an excuse. Because I'm working hard, I have to spend a lot of money. And just so I'm not quite on this post specifically, I've heard a lot from Tara and Heidi, although in those moments I wasn't looking at the group so much as I am now that Tara's on her sabbatical. And I just did not realize to the degree in which this is actually happening, where people say, he deserves to blow off steam by buying food every day for lunch, almost every day. And we get so many people who say, my husband works really hard, so I feel like he deserves to have this pickup at $500 a month to our family or more.
That word.
And I have to tell you again, that word deserves, if you use that word, you're going to fail financially. You're going to fail. There's just no doubt about it. Because you have to get over the idea that any of us deserve anything. There was a time where for about 10 days, I found myself, this was before I met Tara, I found myself without a place to live suddenly. And I had an accident at work not too long before that, and I had a head concussion. And I was stupid and didn't save up any cash. And I had credit card debt. And I realized, wow, what am I going to do? Well, in the midst of that, I realized, wow, in those moments, you think, what do I really need to survive? Because I was thinking, how am I going to get myself out of this situation? I need to do this fast. And by the way, when you drive past a homeless person on the street, I feel for homeless people, especially real homeless people. And I think a lot of people are not real homeless people. But today, I was driving in the town over here.
This
lady
raging.
was walking across the parking lot with a sign on the back said Home Depot cardboard sign, which makes me realize she bought the sign from Home Depot that was already cut to the right size.
And then
she
as
was
she was walking,
she was
calling.
Pulled out a phone to call somebody and walked over to the corner and put the phone in her pocket with a sheepish, sad look on her face. Okay, I'm not being critical of homeless people in general, because some people are genuinely homeless. And some people are homeless for reasons that are difficult for them to control. Maybe they're mentally ill or something like that. But in my situation of having a very short stint of living in my car in the cold and in Colorado, in the mountains, I realized as I look back at that, it never crossed my mind to go find a piece of cardboard and get a marker. It never crossed my mind. At that time, I just thought, holy moly, how am I going to not spend anything until I can figure out how to get a job? And I didn't have a place to live, but I had a P.O. box. And so when I went to apply for a job, I kind of faked it with my address just to make sure that I had some kind of something. And it was really brief. But what I'm saying is, I realized at that time, you are not going to die. All you need is shelter. Pardon me?
Which
which was my car at the time, and you need a minimal amount of plain food, plain rice, a peanut butter sandwich, crackers and cheese, macaroni, ramen noodles. Perish the thought. These things are going to kill us now because they're processed in a factory somewhere. No, this is the minimum. In other countries, that would be living high. So we should be thankful that we have basic things to eat. So when a person feels highly deprived for not being able to eat out, that's really that's a situation of you have come to have unrealistic expectations that we deserve things that we don't deserve. And when you say he deserves it, it's fine. You guys are paying for it. But if you're paying for it by borrowing money and going into debt, you're paying for it with money that you don't have. And you're stealing from future you. And future you isn't going to be happy. In fact, I think future you is already starting to realize when you said our budget going wacko out of control, even prior to the holidays, that tells me that at least on some level, you're realizing, wow, this is upside down.
Tell the turtle story.
Mistakes were made.
So Tar wants me to get ahead of myself in the story. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get ahead of myself just because I had an interesting thing that came to mind.
Hang on, just a second. You can continue.
So
I'll be right back.
my oldest son is a drone pilot, and he had a little drone a few years ago that he was flying in our town, and we have this town that's like a mile or two across. And he was at the south side of our town at a school, and he was flying this drone. And it's kind of a smart drone, but drone. The term drone even suggests that it's not very brilliant. So
$1,000 drone.
So anyway, he was flying this drone, and the drone. So this story is directly related, by the way, guys. This drone lost communication with his controller, and it also lost the GPS signal. So that means that the drone lost some communications and it didn't know where it was or what it was doing. So essentially, the drone lost its mind. And it's just decided, oh no, I'm in a terrible situation. I'm going to go as fast as I can back to the right place. And so the thing is only supposed to go like 15 miles an hour, but it got itself up to 55 miles an hour, and it flew itself all the way across our town like really fast in the totally wrong direction. And this isn't good because where is it going? It's separated from home. It's going to get lost and never found again. Its purpose is going to be useless. So the reason I'm saying this is because it went all the way to the south side of town, north side of town, and we have these giant power lines there. And it flew through the power lines, and when it did, the magnetic waves, we think it was the magnetic waves from the power lines, woke up the part that was broken. And suddenly, so later we were able to pull video when we found the drone. And the video showed that suddenly it just came to a screeching halt. It stopped completely. And then it turned around and was looking around back towards the town. And it's been programmed to return to home if it gets lost from the controller. But because it had lost all of its communication, it didn't know where it was. So it sat there, and we could see on the video, this thing was way up, kind of between these high tension power lines, and it's looking like this, back and forth. And we watched the video, and it's doing this for probably 20 minutes. And we could hear it whirring away, and it's looking all around. Finally, it takes off and it goes. Well, BJ said that what the drone was doing is it was looking around and saying, man, I'm totally off course. I got lost. I don't know what happened. Somehow I found myself in this place far away from where I'm supposed to be, and I have no idea where I am. And so the thing was thinking. It was actually thinking, how do I get back? And it was looking at the landscape and figuring out how to get back. So the reason I say this is because that was a brilliant drone, and it's just a dumb machine. And you are a person who has an amazing brain that God gave you to figure out how to solve problems. And so many people, and this I'm going to say you in the plural to all of you, which we all make excuses in some way, but I'm just saying to all of you who have made excuses and are making excuses, you have a brain and you're so much more brilliant than this, you need to stop and think, what am I doing in my situation? How am I off course? How am I going to fix this? Because just saying,
What
wow,
did I do wrong?
what did I do wrong? What did we do wrong to get ourselves in this situation, and how do we fix it? Because so often I see people posting comments and questions, and you can tell through the comment chain how the people either first say it or how they respond to other people commenting, that this isn't about solving the problem. This is about feeling good about, I'm okay today. And so people will say, oh, that's great. I'm glad you have this plan, blah, blah, blah. That's great. It is great to have a plan. But in a month, if you look back and the plan didn't do anything for you, that was useless. It was completely worthless.
Sorry.
So, yes? Oh,
The cat was playing the TV now.
so what I'm saying is it needs to be more than just I'm looking for someone to praise me in a situation, or I'm looking to feel good. Because if you have gangrene and you say, man, that really itches, I'm going to go get some anti-itch cream, and you put it on your arm, that gangrene is going to kill you because you have a bigger problem than the itch. This is like a real big problem.
Wait, what?
And
What
so gangrene is this infection you get that will eventually eat your whole body. So until you die. And you have to take drastic measures. And in the same way, if you're in debt or you're having major financial problems, you need to take drastic measures. And I said this in the last show, but money problems, I think, are the number one cause of divorce and marital relationship problems. And so if you have financial problems, it's like being in a room with a python. Well, not a python. They're not poisonous. It's like being in a room with a venomous snake and trying to just pretend that it's not there.
Be like, eh.
So I feel like he deserves to blow off steam. Okay, what that's saying is his whatever it is about the work that he hates is more important than the family and than you. And at the same time, I'm not just dumping on him. I look back here and you say, again, original poster, I'm just saying you because this could be you, everyone. But you say that office, art, school, craft supplies are a huge downfall. If it's a huge enough downfall that you mention it, I'm sure that it's very expensive. And this is not, I guess what I'm saying is, you say you feel like he deserves to blow off steam, so therefore he is allowed to spend money that's harming the family in order to deal with some frustration. At the same time, I think that sounds like that's the issue for you with art supplies and other things that are mentioned in the post. And so I think instead of saying, wow, I don't know if he hates his job. I've had some really bad jobs in my day, and we had absolutely no money for me to blow off steam. So I had to figure out other ways to deal with that stress. And believe me, it was highly stressful at a lot of the places where I worked. Some places it was criminal what the employers were doing. But I was stuck in a situation and I could not get out of it at that time. And I realized I can't blow off steam. And thankfully I had Tara, and she wasn't about to say, oh yeah, sure. You just go ahead and do that.
She just grabbed the fly
She just grabbed the fly swatter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, I had some really grueling experiences at those jobs. It was awful. It was cold and nasty and dark and didn't pay enough, and I had to drive real far for it. And that's just the way it was. And I realized at the time, the only way to get out of this is to get out of this, to stop doing things that we're doing and try to figure out a solution to this problem. And when I see, now this poster says this, but I know that the majority of people watching this are doing exactly the same thing. Okay, so I feel like he deserves to blow off steam, but I have a problem with art supplies, and I buy cheap wine and stuff like that. Now, all these things, eating out, eating out, well, really eating out as a response to I work really hard. It's a Band-Aid for our problem. It's saying I have a problem. I either don't want to deal with it or probably I don't want to deal with it. It's a Band-Aid to try to cover a problem instead of to solve it. So the gangrene experience, if you have an infection, you don't want to deal with it, you just want to get a painkiller. And I look back and I think art and craft supplies, okay, a normal amount of arts and craft supplies, when you can afford it with cash, is kind of a nice little hobby. But if you have to buy a huge amount of arts and craft supplies, it tells me that that's a Band-Aid too for an emotional problem that you're having. And then when I was looking at the wine, and I think it's fine for people to drink occasionally. There's nothing wrong with that. Get together with some friends, have some social time and all that. But if you drink a lot of it, it would suggest that it also is kind of a mood changer. Basically anything you use, like too much food, drinking your favorite alcoholic beverage, smoking, a lot of those things are harmful, but they have a mood changing ability that makes you feel good in the moment, but does not solve a problem. And I have to give you props and say that's great that you realize it's a real grocery drain, and it would help with losing some weight. That's correct on both fronts, and I'm very, congratulatory of noticing that. But what I want to encourage you to do, and everyone who's listening, is to stop saying, my husband deserves this because he works hard. No, you deserve for him to work hard because he's the breadwinner in the family. And maybe you work too, and that's fine. But the thing is, working hard is what guys do, and a lot of women too. But I'm just saying, working hard to support your family is not being a superhero. It's just doing what your job is. Like, if you don't want to do that, you shouldn't get married and have kids and have any kind of connection like that with people. So the idea that he deserves to blow off steam, no, he needs to deal with the problem that he's experiencing at work that's making him be that way. And now, and the thing about going to lunch with his buddies, some of this suggests that it's like a peer pressure thing. But if you do what other people are doing, again, you're going to always be poor. You're always going to be in debt and have not enough money. Because what most people do is stupid. I'm just going to say, it really is. Get it together, people.
That scared me, dude.
Sorry, I just did that randomly. But we live in Colorado. Somebody was saying the other day how they were shocked at how low our mortgage was. Our mortgage is low because we've paid a lot extra on our house after we got completely out of all of our other debt. And so our mortgage is very small, and we're hoping to eliminate it this year. And we're trying real hard to make that happen by not spending money on other things. But in the neighborhood where we live, most people spend 3 times as much as us on their mortgage because they didn't put any money down toward their house. And if it's the first time you've ever bought a house, totally understandable. But if you've had a house for 10 or 15 years, it's not understandable. It means you've been wasting money on other things, probably. Either that or you just have never had a job that's, okay, but that's almost not, yeah. So anyway, the people here in our neighborhood mostly, they feel like they deserve things.
Read that.
Dixie Living Homestead, I guess these days doing your part as a man is considered superhero status because so few men do. Maybe so. But I'm going to challenge you. And men, if you're out there, I'm going to challenge you. Step up, buddy. You need to realize this is why I'm here. This is what I do. It's not about me. So I will say briefly, so we're Christian, and we look back and see pretty much all detrimental things that happen to people are based on me, all the way back to the beginning. And so if when you talk, it's about me, oh, how's it going to affect me? I feel this way, I need this.
What's in it for me?
Then that's harmful and dangerous, and you're on a track that's going to really hurt you. And so deserving, when you think you deserve something, it means I want it for me. And as the guy in the family, so we're a family where Tara's chronically ill. Before we got married, she was working a little bit, but we had a discussion. I'm chronically ill, and if we get married, you need to be the guy that make the money, and I'm not. And I thought I'm okay with that. Although it hasn't always been easy, a lot of times it was extremely difficult. But I think that by putting ourselves in that situation at the beginning, we left ourselves a lot of wiggle room for how to pay bills if both of us couldn't work. And Tara did some for a while, even though she was sick before we got married, but it was really difficult for her. And what I'm saying is that we need to not make excuses that things that are normal should be rewarded in some excessive way. The thing is, for kids, you want to get a kid to do something. Okay, I'm going to give you chores. Yeah, you should do the chores on your own without any kind of payment. But we decide, okay, we give our kids an allowance that's based on chores. So they're learning, I do something and I get a little bit of compensation, not a whole lot, because a lot of it is they have to learn that I also have to do it just because that's the way life is. But when you get to be an adult, there are responsibilities you have, and those responsibilities don't necessarily need compensation. Like the thing with family is if you're going to get married, part of the deal is I do my part in the family. And, you know, even if you're a stay-home mom, I have to say I'm quite impressed with how much work stay-home moms do. In fact, we know a lot of stay-home moms, and it's just overwhelming to me to see. So it's really hard to imagine how it works with families where both people are working full-time. And I feel really for you guys in that situation, except most of the time when people have to work that much, it's because you're spending too much. I mean, it's okay if you're working really hard like that so you can hurry up and get a house and pay it off and do all that wonderful stuff. But if you're going month to month and you're paying the minimum on the mortgage and both people are working and they both hate their jobs and they can't get anything done at home, that's a spending problem. And I'm sorry, I'm a little bit off my script here. Let me get back to that. So that's a big problem, and we don't need to get paid for that. But I look at this and I think, okay, he works so darn hard for his company and his family. I feel like he deserves to blow off steam. Okay, but at the same time, I'm assuming that like I said, the mood changers of buying art supplies and doing a lot of that, and buying buying the cheap wine, even though it's cheap, obviously it's still expensive.
It's still wine.
It's kind of in a way of saying, okay, he's doing something unreasonable, and so I'm going to do something unreasonable, and we'll both be in it together. Rah, rah, rah. And no, it's basically, because that's where you're kind of agreeing to say, you know what, you're feeling stressed, I'm feeling stressed, and maybe you're feeling stressed because you hate the job. Maybe the job is grueling and unpleasant. I've realized over the years, I've been stuck in some jobs for a little bit of time and I had to make the best of it. But most of the time, you can leave that job. And much of the time, people are stuck in jobs and they feel like, if BJ, our oldest son, just left a job where people there hated the job so much that they were inflicting emotional torture on each other just because that's the only way they could cope with the job. And I was thinking, they're not getting paid that much. They should quit. So anyway, I'm going to say, in a sense, this seems to say, I feel like he deserves because the job is so terrible in whatever way. So if the job is that terrible, and the money is really in short supply, to then say, as a reward, we're going to pay you basically by letting you just throw away a bunch of the money, that's a vicious circle that makes you stuck in that job. Sorry. Yes?
Lynn says, I eat out because I live alone and don't like eating alone. I want people around me to hear all the chatter and action and enjoy seeing the waitresses I know.
So Lynn, here's the thing. If you can afford that and you're not in debt, so Lynn says She likes to eat out because she lives alone and she doesn't like eating, or she lives alone, doesn't like eating alone, and likes having all the people around. I totally get that. I'm
Oh.
exactly that kind of a person.
And she also likes to see all the people, the staff she knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I totally understand that from a social aspect, and I would say if you can afford it, that's wonderful. Yeah, Dave's
Maybe
elbowing me
King
because
Supers and
I know everybody at all the places in
Yeah.
the town where Dave and I mostly
he
spend
knows
our day.
everyone at King Supers, at McDonald's, and at Wendy's just because.
King Supers is a Kroger store.
If
So yeah.
we go there, yeah.
So yeah, although we're not very often at McDonald's and
No,
Wendy's,
we're not.
but nevertheless, people see me once and they know me.
Yeah, they're like,
And-
hey, Smiley.
So so the thing about that, Lynn, is
Yeah,
that
Lynn Reed.
if you can afford it and you have the money, nothing wrong with going and doing that sometimes. I'm talking about so many people are living beyond their means, getting their budgets into a bad situation and not planning anything for the future or for an emergency. I actually had had a conversation today with Heidi a little bit, and we were talking about people not planning for things. My thinking is, if you're upside down in debt because you're eating out, you're buying yourself things, you're driving a truck because your job is hard and you're going to pay a lot more for the truck than you really need to because you want a nice truck instead of just a truck. And when I say just a truck, almost every vehicle we've ever had has been a reasonably nice vehicle, but it's been like a $3,000 to $5,000 cash paid vehicle once, as opposed to payments forever. So, where was I going with that? If you can afford that and you have the rest of your life under control, that's great. But what Heidi and I were talking about now, I just remembered, people don't plan for emergencies. So like when the economic problems were really happening in the last decade, or earlier in this decade, I guess, starting in 2008, those economic problems hit a lot of people really badly because, especially like here in Colorado, because the market was booming and going crazy and all the houses were going up in value, and all of a sudden the value dropped. Well, if you're like us and you have a tiny bit left on your mortgage and the value drops, wow, that's just too bad, but oh well, at least we still have a place to live. But for a lot of the people here, the lifestyle is, oh, my house went up $20,000. I'm going to go to the bank and get a home equity loan and go to Hawaii because I deserve it because I work hard. No, that's a stupid idea. Because, in the old days, they used to talk about saving for a rainy day. People don't think about that anymore. Now I'm looking at today only. And if a catastrophe happens tomorrow, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Hopefully somebody will take care of it for me.
There's no
But
strategy.
when you're an adult, somebody is you. So you need to think, how am I going to deal with this? So if you have I was going to say, Lynn, one thing I have to put a caveat on everything we say about finance. When people, when we say don't buy an expensive car, because we've never paid more than $6,000 for a car, and we always pay cash so that we don't have payments. Normally it's closer to $3,000. But we say, don't buy an expensive car with it. But you know what? Let's say you want a $100,000 car and you make $1 million a year and you're going to pay cash for it. I don't have a problem with that. I wouldn't do it, because even if I had that much money, the reason I would have that much money is because I had a greater respect for money than blowing it on a car for $100,000. But nevertheless, at any budget level, there's a point where your budget is a little easier and you can spend money on some things that you couldn't spend money on before, and that's okay, as long as you're spending you're saving and spending your money in a way that makes sense. Responsible spending. Some people think responsible is a bad word these days. We actually had somebody telling us that saying that people, or implying that people should be responsible, is being racist somehow. And I was like, I don't know where you made that jump, but everyone should be responsible.
Yeah.
Should practice that responsibility. So like on the house, when we get money, first of all, we paid off all the debt that I had when we got married. And we've had some things come up, medical expenses for the kids that were unexpected. Some of them were very expensive. And we've managed to save enough money to weather all those storms. And we never, ever borrow again because we saved that money. And we came to a point after we paid off a bunch of debt where we realized, I can't plan to use a credit card as an emergency funding source because there's always going to be an emergency. Always. And if it's a medical problem, then I would, obviously it can be treated, but I would hold that bill and I wouldn't just charge it on something else. It's a medical bill. Leave it for the medical. At the time we had a problem, other people, the hospital was just writing off bills, and we put it on a credit card, which we thought was the responsible thing to do. But in the end, it hurt us more than it helped us. Sorry. Yes.
Jamie says that, no, that's a stupid idea. It needs to be your catchphrase, and Mom's is good together, people.
No, that's a stupid idea. Okay, so let me look through my list real quick here because I actually had an outline and I wasn't following it. So it's really important to decide, do you want to solve the problem, or do you just want people to agree that the problem is out of your control and tell you you're doing a good job trying? The main thing is, kind of like the drone, you may be in a situation, you got yourself in the situation, or you and your spouse got yourself in the situation, but nevertheless, you're in a situation, you don't know what to do about it. Instead of making the situation worse by trying to cover up your emotional issues with whatever things you want to buy, you need to think, why am I in this situation, and what is the solution to get out of this situation? And you're not going to come up with the perfect answer at first, but in a sense, it's kind of like being lost in the desert. There's a point where you think, man, I don't know where to go. I'm totally lost. Maybe I'll walk up that hill and look around and see if there's something around here. And you get to the hill and you realize there's something in the opposite direction. So you walked a little out of your way to get to the hill. But nevertheless, you're following a direction that makes sense. And now you see the solution a little further off. And so what I'm saying is, instead of salving the pain, you need to experience the pain and then try to figure out. Oh, that's a really important thing I was going to say. Oh, did you have a question first?
No, I was looking at something.
Deprived. That's the one I totally missed. Oh, well, no, first of all, let me say, further on, there was a lot of interaction with other people, and a lot of people said, some people said some productive things. Good luck. That's great. Some people were making suggestions about him cutting back the eating out some, and that's fine. But I was thinking, people talk about, there was some commentary in here about being deprived or not feeling, maybe if you let him do this, he wouldn't feel so deprived. What's wrong with feeling deprived? Really?
Well, I hate feeling, too.
That's brilliant.
Think about it. What is wrong with being deprived?
Just let him dwell on it for a sec.
And now the answer. The answer about what is wrong with feeling deprived is me. What am I going to do if I have to not feel good all the time? It's me. My feeling good all the time is more important than you, my family. Or than you, me in the future, who is suddenly not going to be able to work so much because I'm getting old. But oh, too bad. I spent all the money when I was younger and healthier and stressed out. So now that I'm old and I actually physically can't do it, then old me in the past has stolen everything from me. And now I owe a bunch of stuff and I really have to be deprived. First of all, that's the one thing. But when I was thinking about with Tara and me, I mentioned that when we first got married, she said, okay, guess what? You need to stop going to movies. You need to stop doing photography. You need to stop eating out on the credit card. And I make it sound like Tara is no, touching the historical artifacts. No, she wasn't being like a drill sergeant, whatever. She was telling me truth. She was speaking truth. She did, like I said earlier, she didn't just say, it's okay, honey, I know you're trying real hard.
Aw,
No.
thanks.
She said, you're working hard, suck it up.
She said, we can't do this with you spinning us into a hole the way you are. But she didn't say, well, you're spinning yourself into a hole, so I'm going to go out and buy a bunch of garden supplies. Because she loved gardening. She got a lot of free garden supplies, by the way, but nevertheless, it wasn't anything like, oh, you're doing something wrong, I'm going to do it. No, she told me, in love, okay, you got to stop spending this money. And I knew in my heart it was true, and I hated it, and I didn't want to do it. And guess what? Did I feel deprived? You bet I did. I felt really deprived. I was like, ugh, I can't believe this. And I was always grumbling to myself, oh, I can't believe it. And I kept coming back to, well, actually, God was telling me, you remember when you got that credit card in high school and they told you you deserve it? And you said, I do deserve it. Guess what? You thinking you deserved it then stole it from you now. So congratulations, this is a project you get to deal with. And I remember thinking, and I was thinking at the time, I don't know how to get a job that pays a lot more, but we can pay our bills if I don't spend it on these other things. And I remember thinking I felt kind of deprived for a while. But guess what happens when you feel deprived for a while?
What? Let him think.
The feeling goes away.
Man.
It's kind of like if you go to Alcoholics Anonymous or some drug rehab place. Okay, maybe Alcoholics Anonymous isn't the best example.
Well, drugs are
anxiety, just anxiety in general. Let's say you have anxiety and you feel the slightest bit anxious, and so you eat a bunch of food or you do something like that to make yourself feel better. I can say I've done that, so I'm speaking from experience. I've discovered something. If you're feeling anxious and you say, I hate being anxious, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna walk around or do something, but I'm not gonna eat the food. Guess what? It goes away. And I realized now I'm saying if you have some kind of major medical problem, which a lot of people think they have and not very many people really have, maybe it doesn't go away. But in general, a lot of things like the feeling of being deprived goes away when you say, wow, I don't have this. I used to have it. I really miss it. I wish I had it. I feel deprived. And then as time goes by, you think, this isn't so bad. And pretty soon you realize, well, this is all right. And then sometime later, this happened to me a number of times, I have the opportunity to have those things again. And guess what? It's meaningless. And those times you're like, I don't really care about it anymore. I don't know why it was so important to me then. So important that I would spend the money to damage my family and myself and our future. Yes?
Good enough for us wanted to know how not to get overwhelmed with debt.
How not to get overwhelmed with debt. Okay. How not to get overwhelmed with debt. Great question. First of all, if you're not in debt, this is a beautiful starting place. But even if you are, act like that drone. If you weren't here for the drone story, the drone went out of control. Our son's robot flying drone got lost. Totally had a screw up in its things, and it figured out, oh, hey, wait, I'm on the wrong path. And it sat there for a while figuring out how to get back to home. And so I would say, first of all, even if you've done it to yourself, and if you have, it's really important. It's really important to say, I did that. Look what I did. And now I have to figure out a solution to solve this problem. And it's kind of liberating at the point where you say, I did it. You can go, I have friends and family who for decades have said, I have this problem. I can't believe the world is so hard and all these terrible things happen to me all the time. And you know what? 10, 20 years later, they're saying the exact same thing. And if you're in the excuse mode, you're going to be doing that too. And your situation's probably going to deteriorate because sometimes it stays just as bad as it was, but down is the only way. But as far as how to get out of that problem, if you're in the problem, stop like the drone did. Stop spending right away. Stop spending. What do I need? I need food and shelter. And I don't know, that's basically it. There are very few things that people need, but there are so many things that virtually all of us, especially in the United States, think we need. So first of all, I would stop spending. And so the people that say, I'm not going to spend anything but groceries and stuff this month, great. That's great. That's a great start. It may not be sustainable to just kind of say, I'm going to slash everything and put myself to the grindstone. So what's better is to say, okay, I'm going to stop spending and I'm going to think real hard. What do we really need? Do I need to spend $200 a month on cable? I don't know. We're $100,000 in debt. Maybe I don't really watch that much TV. I used to say, when we were doing cable, it was like $30 a month. And I would think, wow, if we watch like 6 shows a week, I don't know if the math's going to come out right there. If we watch 6 shows a week, it's going to work out to 24 shows a month. And if it's $30 a month, it costs this much for every show we watch. Is that worth it? And because I realized I wouldn't go pay to see a movie or to buy a DVD or something of a certain price if our financial situation was pretty bad. And so in those moments of great amount of debt, it's important to say, what do I really need? And how can we stop spending what we don't need? And you'd be surprised how fast the debt will go if you stop spending that money and let the money that's coming in stay the same or hopefully even get better. But it's virtually everyone that spends too much, which is 95% of America, and I'm sure a lot of other developed countries, most of that is unnecessary stuff. And if you just say, what do I really need? It's revolutionary in changing your life. And we have, again, back to the neighbors. I'm not saying any specific neighbor, but just people in our area in Colorado. They have to go on a vacation every year. Multiple vacations, maybe. Doesn't matter if they don't have the money. They charge it. They borrow it from mom and dad, whatever. But I have to have that. You know, we recently went on a vacation that we thought was going to be relaxing to the kind of place where a lot of these people go. And it wasn't very much fun. And we spent way too much, even though we were being very careful with the money.
Vacation? What a joke.
But you don't really need that. Or a lot of the people that we know, they have the cable that's $200 a month or more so they can watch the football team in Denver. We're close enough to Denver to put up a TV antenna. And, you know, if you can't afford it, do you really need to watch every single one? Or every single one at your house? Maybe you can go to a friend's house or go to somewhere else where they're showing it. But not the bar, because then you'll be spending too much there. Okay, so, but what I'm saying is, if you stop and evaluate everything you're spending and say, is this really necessary? The story I told about living in my car for 10 days, which isn't very long. Actually, I lived in my car at other times when we had a home, but I was just too far from home to come back. But when I was living in the car with no money and a head concussion, I quickly realized, wow, only these things are really important. And at that time I thought, okay, I need to get a job, enough to pay for a place to live, and it didn't take very much. And oh, what if I have to have roommates? You know what? That's okay. I'll get roommates because I'm desperate. And it turned out that they were brilliant roommates. But then I said, I need the basic, thank you. I need the basic money. I need the money for basic food. And I thought, wow, I could do all this entertainment stuff. I can't afford it. I'm going to stay home, hang out with my roommates, watch some TV because we had a TV, go to the library sometimes, whatever. Maybe spend some of that time thinking, how can I make extra money to get myself into a better situation? But I realized at that time, those are the only basic needs. So virtually everything else can be cut. And also stuff. How much stuff do most of us have? Do you need it all?
No.
Can you sell it?
Yes.
You can probably sell a lot of it. And the thing is, you paid $200 for it. Guess what? You're going to get $30 for it when you sell it. Oh, that's terrible. I spent $200 for it. Yeah, but it's not worth that now. It's like when you drive away with the car off your lot. It's not worth how much you paid for it 10 minutes ago anymore. And now you have to realize the actual market value is this. When you have stuff in the house, it's helpful to sell it and get that money, but it's also helpful to say, wow, I have a lot less stuff to manage. Maybe I don't need as big of an apartment or house. Yeah, everybody's showing me the clock. So I'm just saying there are a lot of ways that you can cut. So, okay, so not feeling deprived. I will also mention on the not feeling deprived, when the feeling of feeling deprived only lasted for a little while, and then I realized, wow, we're okay. We can live. We're actually still having fun. And the things I thought I needed to make me happy, I don't really need. And the reason why, a little secret, things don't make you happy. And you can't, what? In a couple of years, that thing that's amazing to you now, even if you love it and you just hang on to it every day, in 5 years, you're going to throw it in the trash. And you're not going to have it's not going to be anything to you. So anyway, when we moved to Idaho, it was the same way. I lived in a place where I thought a small town was 50,000 people. And we went to a place where the big city that was 70 miles away was 30,000 people. And I had some major culture shock. And guess what? I could have, there were a lot of alcoholics in that area, a lot of people that did a lot of things. And I realized after about 3 months of, oh no, what have we done? I'm in this way out in the middle of nowhere, Booney's place. I started thinking, oh, this is actually nice. I like it. And then I totally changed about how I think about things. And I think that we can all do that. So anyway, quickly, I'm going to do a whole nother show on this, but people say that's how I feel. I feel like this is a problem. I feel
over feelings.
I feel sad. I feel this is what I need to do. I feel like I don't get my part of this relationship. I feel feelings. They will betray you. They're just awful. So feelings are great, like salt on food, to say this food is delicious. The salt will make it a little more, whatever. Feelings are good in that way.
My leg is broken.
But Star Wars lies, people. Feelings are not to be trusted. You cannot make decisions on feelings or you will be seriously in debt. And I'm wrapping this, believe me. Depression and anxiety. I've had experience with this, and I know a lot of people that do. And I hear a lot of talk about body chemistry and drugs and blah, blah, blah. And the truth is, there are probably some people that need to be medicated because they have some genetic defect that causes them misery that they can't control. But virtually everyone that I know have depression and anxiety because you are doing things that you know you shouldn't be doing and you just don't want to change it. Or maybe it's too hard. Maybe you have to tell your mom, no, it's not okay to treat my wife that way. Maybe you don't want to do that because it's painful. Maybe wow, I hate this job, but I don't want to get another one because it's too scary. So you're depressed because you're in a job that's just not working. So anyway, I'm just telling you, medicating things with things is not going to solve the problem. And what was the point that I was making at the beginning? The no more excuses. We have to stop having excuses and we have to think, do I want to solve this problem or not? And if you want to solve the problem,
it's a yes or no question, no in between.
Stop making excuses. Immediately stop doing the things you should be stopped doing. If there's something that you're procrastinating on because it's painful, that's the thing you should do first. I realized if you it's the Eat That Frog. There's a book called Eat That Frog. And basically, if there's something and you think, oh, I'm so horribly stressed because this thing is coming, so I'm going to shuffle my papers. I'm going to check my email. I'm going to go talk to someone. Oh, thank goodness the day is over. I don't have to deal with it today. And then you're going to dream about it all night and it's going to be awful. But if you say, okay, I'm going to face this now and get done with it, it'll be so much better. So I could have gone a lot further with this. I'm going to have to do other shows. And like I said, I think I'm going to do one on feelings pretty shortly here. Because I think a huge problem in America with a lot of people, and especially when it comes to debt and various other life problems, is
countries in general,
is trying to appease your feelings. You need to learn to control your feelings. I'm not talking about being Spock, but you need to learn to control your feelings so they can be the seasoning that makes life a little better, but they can't be the control or they're going to totally drive you over a cliff. So we were going to do the drawing. Should I wait? So I was going to do the drawing today, but good news for everyone. If you haven't entered the drawing yet, Dave will enter it.
Oh yeah.
We hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for subscribing. Tara's celebrating, but she's not working.
Dad, put the confetti on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that would be cool.
I wish.
So tomorrow, since we didn't do the drawing today, I will go on live for just a little bit tomorrow. Do you think just on YouTube?
Yeah, just one.
It'll just be on YouTube, and I will do the drawing. So if you haven't entered the drawing yet, go to YouTube. And Dave is sharing a link. It's the video we did. What was the name of that video? It's the video we did on Monday. I think it said, what was the title of it?
It is called, I Don't Have Any Money.
The
reason you don't have any money and are in debt.
Okay, so Dave just shared the link to that one. And
heated topic.
If you go there and post a comment, you will be entered in that drawing. And the other day when I looked, there weren't very many people entered, so the chance of winning is pretty good. For reaching 100,000 viewers, we're giving away 10 copies of our brand new 20th century. Whoa, that would be awesome. Our brand new 20th anniversary edition of Dining on a Dime cookbook. This book is awesome. If you're new here, don't ask me, ask the people in the comments and they'll tell you what they think about theirs.
Them.
And one person will get this wonderful cookbook for winning the drawing, and this lovely handmade apron that Mama Jill made, Tara's mom. And for those of you, a lot of people have been asking about this. It should be a wonderful thing. So if you haven't already entered, go to that video and make a comment, and we will do that. I'll do that drawing tomorrow briefly. I'm not sure what time, but I'll do it then.
Also, you need to be subscribed. So
yeah, you'll need to be subscribed, and you'll need to check to see the announcement, to see if you were the winner, because we don't have a way to contact most people through YouTube. So we'll announce the winner, and then we'll need to have you send us your contact information so that we can send you the book. So that'll be awesome. Also, right now, Dave will put a link in for this. That's me telling him to do it. But we currently have a New Year's sale going on. So if you have decided you're actually about solving your problem, and you think, I'd like to solve this problem, but I don't really know how, we've got some great things that might help you. So right now we've got a sale on our How to Save on Groceries e-course. It tells you all about how to shop better, how to do meal planning where it's like so not stressful and so quick. And it'll save you a ton right away. If you're already a professional and you think, I don't really need that, that's fine. But if you need some help, it's right there, and it's a discount right now, so this would be a great time to get it. We also have how to get organized and clean your home e-course that's on sale as part of that New Year's sale. And so I would recommend you go check it out. Dave shared a link. If you didn't catch it, you can go to livingonadime.com.
I'll be sharing them both one last time.
Yep, go to livingonadime.com and click on the store, and that'll take you right to it too. So it was great to see you guys tonight. Sorry with Tara being gone, I'm not quite as much in the comments, so I don't see everything that's going on, but...
Oh, sorry. It's just you were on a roll, Dad.
Woo!
You were on a hot streak.
I will look at the...
The
Woohoo!
audience clapping.
Yay! Thank you! I will kind of keep my ear to the ground and see if there are any comments I might address in the next or in one of the upcoming shows, just to say hey. Actually, I have a few plans for other shows because now that Tara's gone, I've kind of taken over. And I have a lot of ideas for shows, and they're just coming up like crazy. So if I'll look at the comments, and I may end up at some time between now and when Tara comes back, I will possibly just answer some of those questions if there are enough of them. So anyway, we really appreciate you guys. We're so glad you're here. Oh yeah, be sure and like, subscribe, and share, and visit us at livingonadime.com. I'm getting some help from my coach. So if you like, subscribe, and share, and visit us at livingonadime.com, that would be awesome. It'd really help us out, and we'll get to see more of you, and that would be really wonderful. And if you have any particular questions, please feel free to ask in the comments, or if you go to the Save Money on Groceries group on Facebook. Dave will share that link one more time.
Both links.
It's kind of a great opportunity to chat with other people and learn some things. And maybe we'll talk about your issue. And if we do, we're thankful that some people have the guts to ask questions, and hopefully the answers will benefit you, because we really are about blessing you and helping you solve the problems that you're asking us about. And then for everyone that's just here because we just all love hanging out with each other, that's awesome too, because we really appreciate it. So anyway, I've got to go to a movie with some friends, and we're going to cut this show.
Chilling like a villain.
Tomorrow I will do that drawing. So if you missed the live part, because I'm not exactly sure what time, be sure and check our YouTube channel at youtube.com/livingonadime, and check in and see if you were one of the winners. And if you are, please make sure you send us your contact info so that we can get it to you. So very much appreciate it. Dave, any parting words? Okay, Dave's the introvert. So all right, we'll see all of you later, and have a beautiful night and a beautiful rest of the week, and see you tomorrow when we announce the winners. Bye. Hold still, Mike.